This is coding challenge number 2. And in this one, we're gonna go back to Julia and Kate's study about dogs. And this time, they want to convert the ages of the dogs to human ages and then calculate their average age. So your job is to create this calc average human age function. And this function accepts an array of dogs' ages, and it does the following 4 tasks. Or actually just 3 tasks. So first, calculate the age of all the dogs in human years using this formula. So if the dog is less or equal to 2 years old, then the human age is simply twice the dog's age. But if the dog is older than 2 years, then the human age is calculated by this formula. All right? Then, in the next step, exclude all the dogs that are less than 18 human years old. And that is essentially the same as keeping the dogs that are at least 18 years old here. Okay? Then, finally, calculate the average human age of all the adult dogs. And from the other challenges, you should already know how to calculate averages. Now in this one, you will do it in a different way, hopefully, because the goal of this challenge is, of course, to use the map, filter, and reduce methods. Finally, then run this function for both these test datasets. So as I said, this is a way of training the map, filter, and array methods that we just studied earlier. And so good luck with this challenge. Take all the time you need, and I see you here once you're ready. So, were you successful in solving this one? I sure hope so. And in case there was some doubt, here is my solution. So, this function takes an array of dog ages, and then we want to convert all of these ages to human ages. So what we want here is to create a new array based on the original array. And so for that, the map method is perfect. So we will have a new array called human ages, and that will be the result of calling the map method on the ages array. Then this callback function gets access to the current age, so the current element in the array. And now here what we need to return is the result of this formula. So this one here. And so let's write a ternary operator here. So if the age is less or equal to, then what we want to return here is 2 times the age, right? Because that dog age is of course this age variable here, because it comes from the ages array, which itself is an array of dog ages. Anyway, if the age is greater than 2, then the result will be 16 plus the age times 4. And so, since this has an implicit return here, remember it's like writing this here, okay? And so it's returning either this value here, or actually either this value, so twice the age, or 4 times the age plus 16. So that's the callback function, and this will then produce the array that we're looking for. Let's take a look. So human ages, and then we just need to call the function. And so here is the age converted to human ages. And it does indeed look correct. So let's assume it is correct. Then, next up, we want to filter for all the dogs that are at least 18 years old. And so that will then exclude all the dogs that are less than 18 years old. So that's going to be the adult dogs. And so that is human ages. And now we use the filter method. And that makes sense, right? Because it's the filter method who allows us to set a condition like this one. So when the age is at least, so greater or equal 18, then put it in the new array, which will be the adults array. And so let's log that one as well. So actually I want both of them here. So human ages and the adults. And so indeed, these two here, the 4 and the 2, are gone. All right. And now finally, we want to calculate the average. Okay. And so the average is basically adding all of these values together and then dividing the result by 5. So the length of the array. So that's essentially what we already did before. So that's going to be adults.reduce, then the accumulator and the current age, and we want to return the accumulator plus the age, and the start is going to be at 0. So this here will return the sum, so all of these ages here added together. And so now all we need to do is to divide this by the length of this array. And then we simply want to return this average value that we just calculated. So let's just see if this makes sense. Let's actually save it here in a variable instead of logging it directly. So average 1, and then also average 2. And then just log both here to the console. And all right, here they are. And this looks pretty reasonable to me. And so our solution here works. Now, I just wanted to let you know that we could have done this average calculation here in a different way. So in a bit more complex way. So let me show you one property of an average. So let's say we want to calculate the average of 2 and 3. So we do that by 2 plus 3. So we add all of this together and then divide it by 2 because we have 2 values. And so that is then 2.5. However, we can also do it in a different way. So we can divide both of them by 2 immediately. So 2 divided by 2 plus 2 divided by 3. And this will also be 2.5. So these here are essentially the exact same thing. Okay? And so here we can do this differently. So let me actually duplicate this line so that we can keep both here. So what I mean is that we can actually simply divide the current age here immediately by the length of the array. Right? Here, this is actually 3 divided by 2. Okay, sorry for that mistake. And so what we did here was basically to divide both of the values always immediately by the 2. And so that would be the same as immediately dividing the age here by the length of the array. So dividing this by the length of the array. And now remember that we can get this length immediately here from this parameter. Well, not really the length, but the array itself. So that's the 4th parameter. And so now we can say array dot length like this. And so see what happens now here. And indeed, the values are exactly the same. And so this way of calculating it is just the same as this one here, but we can do it kind of all in one line. And I also wanted to show you a good use case for using this array here. In this case, we could of course also just have written here adults.length, but sometimes when we chain these methods together especially, then this is the only way we have of using the current array. And we will see a use case of that later. Now, of course, I did not expect you to write it like this, but I just wanted to show you a good use case for the current array parameter that we have here. Okay, and with that, we finished the challenge, and I see you in the next video.